Hello everyone, so last lesson of term, bit of trigonometry for non-right angled triangles, sine curve, cosine curve. So I recommend you do like I do and get yourself some good old Fox's double shot crunch creams. That's the ticket to get us through this. Okay, on we go. Right, if you don't want to copy all of this down, if you look on class charts, you can download and print off the same sheets that I'm going to be writing on now. So pause it, have a little go, see what you can do. You will need a calculator. So remember, you need to use your table function. So if you've got one of these white calculators, it's menu and then 9 for table. But if you've forgotten that it's 9 for table, you just scroll down and see that it says 9, hit 9. If you've got one of the slightly older black calculators, or they come in other colors as well, then I think it's 5 for table, but you should know that anyway. Right, so let me know if that's an issue. So function x, this fx, means the same thing as y in effect. So what we're going to do to y is cos x. So if I hit cos and then x and then close my bracket and then hit, and then you ignore the second function. That's just if you want another function as well. Now we don't want it to start at 1, we want it to start at x is 0, we want it to finish at 360. So we press 0 and equals, then 360 and equals, and the graph is going up in 30s from 0 to 30 to 60 and so on. So pop in 30 for our steps, press equals, and here's our answers here. Our x values coming down here and our y values as our function of x. So when x is 0, y is 1, then 0.866 or 0.87 to two significant figures, 0.5, 0, and then just scroll down to get the next, negative 0.5, and so on. Fill all of those in. I would have been better off filling that in with a pencil, but never mind. So 0 to is 1, and 30 is 0.86, which you're just going to have to estimate a little bit, doesn't matter too much. 60 is 0.5, 90 is 0, and if you keep on doing that, you should get something that looks like this. Now it says 2 marks, so you've got 2 marks for filling in the table. 2 marks, I'd have 1 mark for that so far, and then to get another mark I just need to sketch in. Now the best way to do it is not to try to just do it in one line. You can build up your smooth curve, and they don't expect it to be exactly spot on. I've gone a bit wrong there, but it doesn't actually matter as long as you've got the main idea of it. Moving on to question 2, and right, what we have here is a triangle where we've got 2 named angles. We want to know this length here. I know one length that's opposite this angle, and I need to know that one there. Now the first thing to think about is how we label triangles. We put capital letters on the corners, and we put the small letter that goes with that on the opposite side. So you've got side A there, side B there, and side C there. Now the sine rule says that sine A, so sin of the angle divided by the length of the side, is equal to sin B over B is equal to sin C over C. And also we want it, and that's the way you'd want it if you were looking for a missing angle, but we're looking for a missing side. So you can also say that A sin A is equal to B divided by sin B is equal to C divided by sin C. So which one are we wanting here? Pause it and have a go if you can. So I know I want to find the side, so I'm going to use this. I've got this one, and I want this one as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down A over sin 42 is equal to, my C is 5 over sin 53. And now I just need to rearrange this to make A the subject, which I can do by multiplying both sides by sin 42, which will give me A equals 5 sin 42 over sin 53. Now when it comes to putting it in the calculator, it'll open a little bracket there, so you'll just want to close that off. Now if you put it in your bracket in your calculator just like that, you should get the answer. So I hit the fraction button, 5 sin 42, close that bracket, come down to here, over sin 53, close brackets, and that gives me 4.189. Now I'm going to write it down with 4 significant figures just to make sure I don't lose a mark for rounding, which you can lose quite a high percentage of marks if you get that wrong for really nothing at all. So we just need that to be rounded up because of that 9 to 4.19, and it's in meters. So now we're going to move on from sine rule to the area of a triangle, but using the sine rule. So the area formula, have a little go, see if you can remember what the area formula is, pause the video and then check that what you've got is right. So the area, and this is just a working through using trigonometry from right angled triangles of a half times the base times the height, which is how you find the area of any triangle. Half AB being 2 of the smaller sides, this one's A, this one's B, sin C, capital C there because we're talking about the angle. So that there is angle C. This would be little c, this would be angle B, this would be angle A, but we don't worry about those because the ones we've got in our formula are those. So whenever you've got 2 sides, either side of an angle, so you've got the angle in the middle of the 2 sides, you can just whack it straight into that formula to get your area. So have a go at doing that whilst I tuck into my double choc cream. So that should give you this, and you should always put that down as you're working, exactly what you're putting into the calculator. You can double check you've done the same thing both times. Press equals, gives you 39 root 3. We want it to 2 decimal places. If it said exact value, that would be your answer, but it doesn't. So we want 1 decimal place. So I'm going to write it down to 2 decimal places, 67.54. The fact that you've got a 9 after there does not mean that you round that 4 up to and then the next one up as well. You only need to worry about the next one. So that's a 4, so it stays down at 67.5, and this time our units are going to be centimeters squared because it's area. Have a look at this one. What do you think? So this is another sine rule because I've got this over that equal to this over that. I want the side, so we're looking at x over sin 38 equals 13 over sin 100. And then we multiply both sides by sin 38 to give me x is equal to 13 sin 38. That's going to go into the calculator with brackets, so I'm just putting that in to make sure I don't make a mistake. Put that into your calculator and you should get 8.12 to 2 decimal places, so that is just 8.1 centimeters. Before you move on, always have a little look, by the way, at this time and think, is that a sensible answer? 8.1 centimeters there, well, shorter than that. That does look sensible. Oh, by the way, the longest side, remember, is always opposite the biggest angle, and the shortest side is always opposite the smallest angle, just in case you hadn't noticed that. So that's another thing you can use just to gauge how things are going. Right, question 5. We've got another area question. It looks like we've got pretty much the same sort of information, but this time we've only got one side, and in order to get the area we need two sides and the angle in the middle. So if you know two angles, it's an easy thing to work out the third angle if we should need that. So I think I want to know this angle, because what I want to do is use the sine rule, because I've got that one there, because that angle there is opposite that, I can use the sine rule to work out that one. So use the sine rule first, and then I'll have two angles, two sides with the angle in the middle. So if we start off with if we call this side here A over sin 82 is equal to 12 over sin 40. So it's just like what we've been doing on the last few. Multiply both sides by sin 82. A is equal to 12 sin 82 over sin 40. Put that in your calculator, remembering to put the brackets close the brackets around your angles. At this point you don't want to worry about rounding too much, so I'm going to write down 18.487 because then there's a couple of zeros, and if possible I'll use the answer button later, but I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment. So that's 18.47 centimeters. Does that make sense? This should be bigger than this because this angle is bigger, so that does make sense. So if we put 18.487 down there, then we can say, what's this angle here? Well, 82 plus 40 is 122 degrees. 180, take 122, well, take 120 would be 60, so take two more away, it will be 58 degrees. So we're then going to be using a half AB sin C, where we've got this distance here. Now I'm going to, instead of that distance there, I'm going to write ANS times 12 sin 58, and the reason for that is the last thing that this calculator worked out was 18.487, so it'll give me the exact value if I now just start typing my next question, 1 over 2, and then go hit the answer key, which is just down there. Hit that, that puts that in there, and that means that the memory recall has kicked in, and we've got sin 58, close brackets, hit equals, and that gives me 94.067 centimeters squared, but they want it to one decimal place, so it is equals 94.1 centimeters squared. There you go. Right, the final question is a sort of multi-parter. Got all of this going on. We want to know this length here. So if I call that X, I can't work it out yet because all I know is these two angles. So it could be any size and just similar triangles, and I wouldn't know the length. So I need to know one of the other two lengths before I can do that. And I can work that out from this triangle here. I've got that being 41 degrees, and I need to work this one out. Now I've got two sides, either side of a thing, which is what we need when we're working out the area, but it's not something we can do with the sine rule unless we were to go a long way about it and work out what that angle was and go round. We can do this using the cosine rule. Now, there are two different forms of the cosine rule. One of them for if you're looking for a side, one of them if you're looking for an angle. The one for an angle is a squared is equal, a side is a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared take 2 bc cos a. So as far as this triangle is concerned, we could replace the one that I'm calling A is actually the D one, because I want that angle there is opposite to this side here. So if I call that little D, I could rewrite all of this as D squared is equal to the other two sides. Doesn't matter which one's B, which one's C. So I'm just going to go with 16 squared plus 11 squared minus 2 times, let's put all this into a bracket, 2 times B, which was 16, times C, which was 11, cos 41 degrees. So actually I don't want to work at all of that yet. Yeah, I can, that's fine. So if I do all of that, then what I want to do when I've worked all of that out is do the square root. Now I like to put things into the calculator just once, so I could just do the square root of all of that, and I could have written that first of all, couldn't I? Anyway, pop that into your calculator and see if you get the same as me. And I've got 10.55 there. Now if you had put a bracket in there, just remember, I'm just going to show you this, when it gets to the end you may have got some kind of error if you didn't put, because I've have to close my angle bracket and then close that bracket as well, so just watch out for that. And that gave us 10.55, so we want 10.55. Now I'm going to do the same trick with the answer key in a minute, so I'm not going to bother about writing all of that out. And now that I've got that, and I know this angle and this one, if I only knew this angle, I could use the sine rule, couldn't I? Because I've got that one opposite that and that one opposite that. Well, I know two angles, so back to year 6 stuff, or even earlier, add 75 and 82 gives us 757. 180 take 157, well, let's count up from 160 would be 20, so it's going to be 23 degrees. So I can use the sine rule here and say that x over sin 75 is equal to D, which was 10.55 over sin 23, multiply both sides by sin 75 gives me x is equal to, this time I'm just going to write answer there to remind myself to use the answer key on the calculator, and put that into my calculator, and it should give us 26.08. No, it doesn't say, so if we just do it to 3 significant figures, 26.1 centimeters to, and if it doesn't say in a question, just always do the rounding but then write down what you've done it to. So if you then say 3 significant figures in brackets, that handles that. Okay folks, well I hope that helps. Have a go at the other questions that I've put online a lot, and then check them with my work solutions, and let me know if you think I've made any mistakes or if there's anything you are still struggling with. Okay, have a lovely summer everyone. See you in September hopefully.